Hey friends, and welcome back to Susie on the Farm. I have some fun projects for you guys today, and I'm going to be using all the products that came to me in Sonnet's Curated Makers box this week. This box is so much fun and comes with all these amazing products that you can use to do your own projects. We're going to open up the box here in just a second, but if you're interested in getting the box, it is closed now, but go ahead and get on the waiting list. Use the link down below here in my description box to get on that waiting list, because people will cancel and you can get started getting these boxes for yourself. So in September's box, we have 2 Roycycled decoupage papers. Now, the only way that you can get these papers is if you are getting Sonnet's Makers box. These are made exclusively for her Makers box, and this one's a gorgeous fall. It's got all kinds of pictures and just really pretty fall. And then we have some flannel. Nothing says fall like flannel. Connie from the Painted Photographer has also painted some rice papers for us. This one has some pumpkins. Can't wait to use these. And this gorgeous, gorgeous lantern. For the paint products that have come in this month's box, we have... first, Sonnet also sent us a couple of really, really cute napkins, and I am going to use one of these in the projects. We have a Sweet Pickins milk paint in the color Willow, and then we have Fusion Seaside and Woodwick. We also have DIY paint, and we have Summer Crush and Farm Fresh in this box. Sonnet also sent us a cute little bracelet that says have courage and create. It's actually quite comfortable and doesn't clang around, so I have been wearing it this week. You'll see it on my wrist here in these videos. So let's go ahead and get started with the projects. For project number 1, so y'all know that me and Teresa went shopping this week for some blanks and stuff to use in this video, and she picked out this wood sign for me. The welcome was painted on, so I just sanded over it a little bit to, make sure that you couldn't feel any raised parts. But then I'm going to cover it with 2 coats of, I think this might be cashmere. This is a fusion paint. I'm going to cover it with 2 coats just because I am going to decoupage, and I'm going to use that flannel decoupage paper from Roycycled, and I thought that I would try decoupaging with liquid patina now that I have some here in the store. I usually use the Fusion decoupage gel, and I do love it very much. And I didn't have any problems with this liquid patina, so I may use it from time to time. I haven't quite decided my favorite yet. So both of them are amazing products. I didn't have any problems with wrinkles. How I decoupage, y'all know if you've been watching me for a while, is I like to do a little starter strip, and then I just continue on down. That way I am able to smooth out any wrinkles as I go. I also like to mist my decoupage paper. What that does is it allows the fibers in it to stretch, so you can stretch them out as you're going and you won't have any wrinkles. So I'm going to finish decoupaging this flannel on here, and then I am going to set it aside for just a minute. And I told y'all that I'm going to be using one of those cute little napkins, and I absolutely love the Highland cows. So I'm going to use that on this little sign. I also thought that the hair or fur or whatever cows have, the colors of it match this flannel in it really well too. But what I'm going to do is I am going to use my paintbrush to wet the napkin to kind of tear it around the cow's head. I don't really want that wood background in it. I just want the cow. I wasn't too nervous about cutting this or tearing it because at least there was 4 cows on this little napkin. So if I mess up, I have 3 more chances. And I actually did mess up. I'll tell y'all here in just a minute. I don't show it, but I'll tell you. So because there's a pattern already down on the sign, I want to paint the back of this napkin so that pattern doesn't show through. And here's where I messed up. I ended up having to cut another one and paint the back. And this time I did get a little a smaller brush with a really soft bristle, and it just took me a little bit longer, but I got the whole back painted and I let it dry, and somehow I lost the footage of me decoupaging it on, but I just put some liquid patina down, decoupaged it. I let this sit overnight to dry, and then I'm going to use my sander, and in a downward motion I'm going to get off all the excess paper. And then I'm going to make a sign out of this. And I don't normally like worded signs, but for some reason, this cow was just speaking to me. So I'm going to be doing lots of wording in this whole video today. For this one, I am using the swoosh stamp. I do think this one is retired, and I don't think I have any. This is cursive letters. If you do have this stamp, the best way to use this stamp is to put one letter down at a time. Since they're cursive, you kind of have to overlap them to get them to look right. And they're all lowercase. So I'm going to do one letter at a time. I'm going to ink it up with my IOD black ink and put it on here. And this sign is going to say, "Bless our herd." But "our" did not fit on with the swoosh stamp, so I just did "bless" and "herd," and then I went back and added "our" in, and I think I used the letterpress stamp to do that. The last thing I did to finish this off was just take my ink pad and I went all the way around the edges. I just felt like I needed a little bit of framing out. And this project's done, and I love this cute little sign. I know it's going to sell right away. For project number 2, sticking with the cow theme, I picked up this ceramic cow head at the Goodwill with Teresa this week, and if y'all watched my haul video, you know that I dropped it and I broke both his horns. I've already glued them back on with some Titebond, and they are on there good, but now I've got to hide my mistake. So I'm using a little bit of that, I think it's Woodwick, and I'm also going to use some texture. This is the Fresco powder from Fusion. You could also use salt wash or baking soda, and then Dixie Belle has a sea spray too. So whatever product you want to use that will give your paint some texture will work. So I am just dabbing this on all over him. That will hide where I've glued his horns back on and also give him lots and lots of texture. For the first coat, I am just going to dab it on there. I'm not worried about full coverage. I can go back and get all that later. And after I get the first coat on and let it dry, I'm going to come back and do a second and probably about a half or a touch-up coat just to get any spots that I've missed. And then that gets him fully covered. For For the second coat, I just painted right over all that texture that I had already created. And this is where I want to make sure that I get full coverage and get all his parts covered. Once all his paint has dried, I went back and forth on what kind of wax to use, and I finally settled on using DIY white wax. I just use a wax brush and I put it all over the entire cow, and then I'm actually going to use a wet wipe to wipe it back so I can wipe back just a little bit more and get all of that wax worked in good to all his details. Y'all, I'm obsessed with this, and I am so glad that I dropped this cow and had to fix him, because otherwise I would have just tried to sell him just like he is, and he is so much better now. One of my lamb's ear candle rings fit perfectly around his neck, and he already has the holes there where he can be put straight on the wall, and I just love how he turned out. For our next project, I'm going to be doing a clipboard. If y'all been watching me for a while, I like to make and sell these clipboards, and I am slap out. They're great for teacher gifts or just little friend gifts. I'm going to do a fall themed one here, and I'm going to give it 2 coats on the front and the back of Summer Crush. I get these off Amazon, and I will leave a link in the description for the ones that I get. They're real easy to paint, and they're quite inexpensive. While the paint's drying, I'm going to get one of Connie's rice papers. I'm going to use a couple of the pumpkins on this, and I think this is called fussy cutting, so I'm just going to fussy cut around these pumpkins, and I just want to use the pumpkins. And speaking of Connie from the Painted Photographer, the name of her rice paper line is Connie's Lines and Designs, and I am officially a retailer. If you've been on the website in the last couple of days, you may have noticed the Connie Lines and Designs. Y'all, I am in awe of her painting. She is so amazingly talented. She uses the DIY paints to paint these images and then prints them onto rice paper so that we can use them too in our crafts. So check those out if that's something you're interested in. Rice paper is also very easy to decoupage with. I just put some liquid patina down, rubbed my pumpkins in, and did some liquid patina over them. I went ahead and sealed all of this clipboard, and then I did the big ones on the back. I did the same thing, fussy cut them out, used some liquid patina, and put it down. And now we're going to stamp some words onto this clipboard. So this is the farmhand stamp set. It's puts me in the mind of like Ray Dunn or something like that. And I'm going to spell out the word, it's fall, y'all. So I'm going to do the YAL, and then I'll have to go back and put the other L in. And then it also comes with like parentheses. And so I use just a little corner of one of those parentheses to make the apostrophe for y'all. And then I did end up using, I think, the lowercase in typesetting stamp maybe. And I did this all on the back side so people could see it. And then the front side just has the 2 pumpkins on it. Pro tip for y'all, if you're using letter stamps or really any stamp, but especially letter stamps, clean them off right then and put them back on their backer or you'll lose them. And there's nothing worse than looking for a letter in a font that you can't find. Y'all, I'm obsessed with this clipboard. I think I might be keeping it for myself, even though I don't use clipboards very often. Let me know if this is something that y'all would make. For project 4, I think I'll go ahead and do another clipboard with the other rice paper. But for this one, I'm going to use the Fusion all-in-one paint. This is the color Seaside, and I can't even describe the buttery smooth coverage that this gets and how well it covers. I really only had to do one coat on the front and the back of this. And for this one, I'm going to use this lantern. And I'm going to use my paintbrush just to go around the edges and then tear it. I just want a really kind of an organic line rather than a cut line. To me, they just look better, and I need to work on blending, and I'm not very good at that, so this helps with that. So I'm using my paintbrush to go all the way around the image. I'm leaving as much of Connie's gorgeous painting as I can, and just getting off the white, and then I'm going to decoupage it straight on the back of that clipboard. The rice papers are a little bit thicker, so it's not even necessary really to paint your backing white. I could not tell a difference one way or the other in this. But you can still paint it white. It might pop a little bit, but it still looked absolutely gorgeous on this. I'm again using the liquid patina. I'm not even bother wetting this because the rice paper is it's thicker anyway, so wrinkles are not a problem. Once I got the paper down, I went ahead and sealed the entire clipboard front and back with the liquid patina. And then once it is dried, we're going to put a saying on the front side, so when you're holding the clipboard, you can see the saying. And I looked up some different lantern sayings, and the one I decided on, I really don't know who said it, and I found a bunch of different versions of it. But basically it says, when you light a lantern for others, you also light your way. So I'm putting some sort of version of that on here, and I'm using a combination of different fonts from the letterpress stamps. I think that one has 3 different fonts. So like I said, I'm using a combination of 3 differents. I'm also using the IOD black permanent ink and the white permanent ink. I wish that I would have done it all in white because I feel like that showed up better, but it's okay. You can still see it. But it says, lighting a lantern for another will also light your way. Like I said, I'm all about the words today. I've been selling these clipboards for around $12.99, but I think I'm going to go up a little bit to $14.99, especially on these where I have something on both sides. And I think that they'll still sell that way. And this one came out so cute. Well, I also guess I didn't record it, but there was a lamp in the Portobello Road stamp that I also put on this one. For project number 5, I also wanted to use the other Roycycled decoupage paper, and I had the toughest time deciding on the image that I wanted to use, but I ended up going with this one that had the mallard ducks on it. It reminded me of the lake, and I'm so sad that summer's over and we won't be spending as much time at the boat. So I went ahead and cut this one out. I just found a frame in my stash that I could put this in, and I cut it out using the glass to fit exactly in the frame. And then I'm going to paint the backer, like the cardboard backer of the frame, white and decoupage this paper onto it. And I'm going to use the liquid patina, and I'm just going to go for it and just do the whole page, since it's a, you know, one solid square sheet. Should be pretty easy to keep it from wrinkling, and it was. I didn't have any wrinkles. I just still used my brush to smooth out the wrinkles all the way down, and it came out absolutely perfect. Now moving on to the frame, it was quite a plain frame from my stash. I had some that had some detail, but I thought that this would be a fun way to use this kind of boring frame. I went through several of my molds, and I finally decided on the Laurel mold, and I'm using, I think this like is a wheat thing or something, but I just really like the size of it, and it fit perfectly onto the frame. I'm using IOD air dry clay, and I dusted my mold with some cornstarch first, so it'll be easy to remove. And then I'm just using my thumb to take off any of the excess clay from the edges, and using that little micro rim that makes it real easy to do that. And then I just turn the mold over and flip it right out. I did make 8 of these, and then I'm going to glue them onto all the way around the frame using Type Bond quick and thick glue. And I'm just putting some on the back, and then rubbing it with my finger to get it all over, and then just placing it on the frame. And then I will also take a baby wipe to wipe off any of the excess glue before it dries. And I did leave this to dry overnight. I do like to paint my molds when they're wet, but I ran out of time on this day, and luckily I did not have any cracking or really any shrinking. There was maybe a tiny bit of shrinking, but I had the molds so close together anyway that it really, you couldn't tell. So it's fully dried, and I am going to paint it now. And I went back and forth. Do I use the Woodwick, which matches a lot of the colors in the print, or do I use the Seaside? I decided to go with the Seaside because I felt like it highlighted the blues in the mallard ducks there, and it's just a really, really beautiful color. And now when painting on molds, you have to really dig down deep into all those cracks, so that's another reason I was glad I waited for this one to dry. I did 2 coats, and then I had to go touch up because there's always a few little white spots that you miss on the molds. So I got this all painted, and then once it dried, I decided to use black wax on it. I thought that it would highlight those black grass reeds that you see there, and also bring out all those gorgeous details of that mold. I'm just using a cheap little chip brush, and I'm getting down in. I'm basically focusing on the molds first, and then I'll do any excess over the entire frame. And then I'm just going to come back with a paper towel and wipe it back, put everything back in the frame, and this project's done, and it is so gorgeous. And honestly, that paper is so pretty. I can't wait to use some of the other designs on it, but these molds on this frame kind of stole the show from this project. What do you guys think? We got 2 more projects to go, and I know this video is getting quite long. If you're still here with me, thank you so much. If you don't care, go ahead and leave a comment. Just leave a thumbs up to let me know that you're still watching. And for this project, Teresa and I picked up these wall pockets. They have that faux rust look on them that I'm not crazy about. So I'm going to use the Sweet Pickins milk paint on them. This is the color Willow. If you've never used milk paint before, you just mix it half and half with water. So I did that, and then I let it sit for a little while, and I decided to, I've already cleaned these once, but I decided to clean them again, and they were still yellowing my paper towel. So I had the liquid patina sitting there. I figured just to be safe so I don't have any bleed through, I went ahead and did a coat and let that dry, and then I'm going to put the milk paint. I'm going to do 2 coats, drying in between coats with a heat gun on both of these wall pockets. like to use a heat gun to dry my milk paint. It promotes some cracking, but I think I might have done just a little bit too much promoting on these because we had a lot of cracking and chipping, as you can see there. It's really no way to fix that other than sand it off and start again, but I was just going to embrace it. So I took my hand and I just got off any of the flaking. Once you get off all the flaking, you can seal it and it shouldn't flake anymore. And this one really chipped a lot. And I did go ahead and paint the backs on both of these too. And then to seal them, I like to use beeswax to seal my milk paint because it's food safe. Not like I need this to be food safe, but I do like the finish that it leaves. But I wanted a darker wax because I really kind of wanted to darken these up. So I mixed in a little bit of DIY dark wax with my beeswax finish and sealed both of these wall pockets with all the chippiness. And I think I kind of like the way they turned out. I usually don't like a ton of chipping like this, but once I sealed them up, I took them outside to take pictures, and I really liked them. And I leaned them up against some shutters that I had for a display outside, and they look so good on those shutters, and they already have the holes in them, so I ended up screwing them into the shutters, and I love them. What do you guys think? Are these too chippy for you? I'm going to leave them like they are for now. Someone else might fall in love with them as much as I am. I put some some mums in them for fall, but they would be really pretty with some anything for Christmas too, I think. Finally made it to our final project for today, and this is this little recipe box that Teresa picked out for me. I'm going to give it 2 coats of Farm Fresh. This is the DIY paint that came in Sonnet's Maker's box. Once that is done, I am going to use the last of the pumpkins that Connie has painted for us, and I am going to use the tearing method this time and just tear around a little circle to fit on the front of our little recipe box. So used to using recycled the decoupage paper that is so easy to do the tearing that this was a little bit harder, but I finally got it and it turned out just like I wanted it. I'm just gonna decoupage this on the front of the recipe box using the DIY liquid patina. I thought I would have to blend in the edges, but I actually really like how well it blended with this tear. It looked really good once it dried. For some reason, I really wanted to use this little circle stamp from the Veranda stamp set, and I played around with it for a minute with some wording, but I never could get it quite to look like I wanted it. So I scrapped that idea, and I'm going to put pumpkin pies on here, and then I'm going to also use one of the little label stamps from the Apothecary labels stamp set and some little bitty letters from it as well to spell out the word fresh in the label. And I ended up going back with a paint pen and filling in those letters that didn't look really good. But then the paint pen, it was darker than the ink, so I had to do the whole pumpkin pies, and I think it looked pretty good. Sometimes when I'm using them paint pens, though, they'll splatter just a little bit. So I had a little bit of a splatter, and then I had to paint back over that with the Farm Fresh and then seal back over that again. And I feel like you can see the different finishes just a tad, but it kind of blends in with the decoupage and everything, so it's not very noticeable. And I think this is the cutest little recipe box. Yes, it can only sit out during the fall, but it could be a useful decoration for the fall. Thank y'all so much for hanging out with me during this video. I know that it was a little long. Go ahead and leave me a comment below. Let me know which was your favorite of today's projects. Don't forget to sign up for the wait list for Sonnet's Maker's Box. And also you can get all your DIY products, paint, decoupage paper, IOD on my website, susieonthefarm.com. I'll see y'all again next Wednesday. Thanks so much for watching.